Ruminating over your relationship challenges is not going to give you what you want. Ruminating over why you don't have the connection, where the connection is gone, trying to get your needs met from him, and constantly in your brain feeling depleted, deflated, drained, and exhausted. Meanwhile, you guys are further and further and further drifting apart, feeling platonic, feeling like roommates, not having any of the passion and the desire or the spark that you're actually wanting to experience in your relationship. And the thing is, you know that that version of you, that like highly orgasmic version of you that's full of zest and full of life is there because that version of you was there before you were in a relationship. Yeah, hear me out. The version of you that was doing your own routine, that had your own rituals, that was masturbating but not telling anybody about it. The version of you that was going to dance class, waking up in the morning, having her own dance parties in her underwear in the living room, making her coffee, playing around, enjoying her space before there was anyone else in her space when it was just her taking up big space. She was there. She was alive. She was happy. She had the zest and she had a desire for deeper connection. That is why she got into a relationship in the first place. But when women get into a relationship after being highly orgasmic on their own, what tends to happen is we go from our self-pleasure and focusing on self-worship as the devotional practice into being devoted together, which is beautiful. Now it becomes I and it becomes the we. Everything is about the we. How are we making love? How are we communicating? How are we doing life? How are we designing life? How are we living our life? How are we wanting to spend our time? How are we wanting to spend our money? How are we wanting to create our sexy scenes? Also, what's not working? Where can we improve? Where are we not feeling connected? Where are we not communicating things? Where am I not getting my needs met? Where is he not getting his needs met? Right? So it's all focused on the we, which is amazing because that's what we're here to do, to walk each other home into deeper layers of love, which is what devotion brings. It is absolutely a unique and exquisite journey. Definitely not for the faint of heart, because it's going to bring up childhood wounding. It's going to bring up your own adulthood needs that you haven't met that need to mature out and see if they're a real need or if it's just a want. But also, here's a piece that happens that most people do not tell you, and it's this. Around the 3-year mark and around the 6-year mark, oftentimes around the 9-year mark, if you make it to that point, you get to a place where you start to feel like in most relationships, like again, your roommates, you guys are missing the mark unless you're actively focusing on cultivating your own erotic turn on and energy for women or the feminine in the relationship. Now, this part of us as a woman that wants more love, more connection, more intimacy, but especially wants to have more orgasms in her relationship. I'm talking not a once a month kind of a thing where he focuses on you and now you have an orgasm once a month. Not even a once a week kind of an experience. You know, when you're single, you're masturbating several times a week. If not, a lot of my clients masturbate before they're in a relationship almost every day. Real talk here, I masturbated every single morning and every single evening. That's twice a day, every day, 7 days a week. That is right, because that is what fuels my life. And that is what fueled all of my success. Truly, I'm fueled by orgasms. That's what brings me sparkle in my eye. That's what brings a joy in my heart. That's what brings me the power to serve in a greater way of excellence that I'm here to do in my life's work. Now, I know that's not for everyone. Now, let me just give you this. I don't masturbate or self-pleasure that frequent and that often currently in my life. It's something that I love to do, and it's something that I'm continuously working on coming back to. And that's why I see the same pattern, not only in myself, but in the clients that I've worked with as well. Even one of the clients that I was just working with and helping today in a coaching session. She's wanting more connection. She's trying to get more love and get more romance from the man that she loves, her husband. She's got 2 kids. She's tired. She's exhausted. But the main thing isn't that. It isn't that she's a mom. It isn't even that she's tired or has a lot of things going on. It's the fact that she's constantly ruminating in her head over and over how she needs to fix the relationship, how she's not happy, how she's unhappy, how everything her husband does disgusts her and dissatisfies her, how nothing is actually good and she's just not happy. She's not pleased. The pattern is being dissatisfied. The dissatisfaction pattern comes from where I have traced from lack of orgasmic energy in your daily, consistent life. This is what I believe wholeheartedly. This is what I have seen. This is what I have tested through case studies of clients and in my own life. A woman who is cut off, or a feminine being who is cut off from their orgasmic energy, especially when they were connected to that energy before entering into a relationship, will not be happy in a long-term relationship without active sexual orgasmic lifestyle experience, with or without her partner. And here's the thing. It is up to us to go back to the routines, to the rituals that we had when we were single, to be the invitation in our relationship for the intimacy, the sex, the orgasms that we want to be having with our partner. Because when we aren't open, when we don't have the sparkle in our eyes and the warmth in our skin or our voice and our tonality, our partners are not going to feel magnetically and effortlessly drawn to us to want to engage with us in a very sexual, erotic, or intimate manner. It's just not going to happen. They actually feel more repelled, and they feel like no matter what they do, you're unhappy, you're dissatisfied. So might as well not try. Or they're not going to want to come and be rejected. So instead, they'd feel like they'd better just leave you alone until you're ready at the time when you can be an invitation for them and it's clear, so you're a safe space for them to show up. But here's the thing. If you're constantly in your head and you're ruminating over, well, when's he going to reach out? Or where's the romance going to happen? Why isn't he making time for me? Why is he making time for his friends? And you're in your head complaining and you're bitching and you're being annoyed. All you're doing is all of that negativity and that spiral is just shutting down your pleasure capacity and your potential tenfold, my love, all day long, all day long, all day long. And you're now not giving yourself the opportunity to come back home to yourself, your truth. It's not about seeking more connection from the outside. It's about returning home to the connection and your natural orgasmic state from within that you know has been there from the beginning. Some part of you has felt it. Like I said, before the relationship, you owned it. You would dance. You'd feel free. There's always this little spark that you've known is there, or a big rolling river that now is just run dry. So my invitation and the transmission, but especially the teaching here, is that if you want to be well fucked, well loved, well pleased, and well held in your relationship, you cannot put all of the pressure onto your partner. It's not fair. It's not fair to him, and it's also not fair to you. And it may or may not occur to you that because you're in a relationship, you could still have self-pleasure practice time. You could still have a nice long shower and use your shower head and self-massage and self-pleasure and walk out of that shower feeling renewed, re-energized, restored, and more resilient than you did when you walked in there. And then suddenly you become this energetic invitation. And now your man is like, ooh, can I join you in the shower? Or, ooh, I want to come see you on the bed, and joins you on the bed and initiates sex. Why? Because you're open energetically. You're available energetically. That's the thing that I see so many women get caught up on. And I used to get caught up on this years ago, was we're expecting the man to do all the work to open us up. It's a lot of work, especially for women to become highly orgasmic, let alone live in an orgasmic connected state. It takes self-discipline and self-worship to continuously stroke the flame of that fire inside. And in the beginning, it might feel Like there's nothing going on because nothing's been happening in your relationship and you're only having sex once a month or twice a month or, once a week, which is still fine. But know that when you have sex less frequently, it makes the work to come back together more work. When you have sex more frequently, oral sex, penetrative sex, solo sex, when you have, more importantly, orgasms, even quicker than sex, even easier for you to access than needing someone else, it makes it exponentially easier on you, on your partner, to have more orgasms, more often, more connection, more often, more fun, more intimacy, way more often. Because that fire is already this beautiful, warm, roaring fireplace that has never gone out. You're not needing to put the firewood together and, dust out the cobwebs and bring the lighter and the tinder and like have an hour where he's like fanning the flame forever to like finally get the fire going, right? You don't actually want that. He doesn't actually want that. And that's where a lot of relationships are in long-term relationships, unfortunately. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can just seriously be better and better and better and better for as long as you want. But it requires, and I did my TED Talk on this question, you asking yourself, how good can I stand it? But here's something I didn't put in my TED Talk that I'm going to share with you all. It's following it up with a secondary question, which is this. And can I let myself receive it? Can I let myself receive it? The only thing that's blocking you, is your brain, is your overthinking, is your ruminating, is you having shame or judgment that is stopping you from experiencing your own pleasure as a sovereign individual. You don't need permission to touch yourself, to feel good, to masturbate in a shower or not. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need your partner's permission. You don't need your kids' permission. You don't need your church's permission. You don't need your priest's permission. You don't need anyone's permission. All you need to do is give yourself the permission to receive the goodness, the godliness, the orgasmicness that is your natural state. That orgasmic beingness that birthed you into life is your natural state. So even as there's relationship hardships that will happen, because that's a part of growing in the devotion. And that's a part of why devotional relationships are so gorgeous and so beautiful, because there's so much growth. And even in those growth challenges, whether you're moving to a new country or you're traveling and there's transition time, or whether you're, building your businesses and your empires, or you're working on your financial gains, or you just had children, or even if there are health challenges within your own relational dynamic of one of you is struggling from health and you're trying to get it where the two of you are intimately connected and you're focused on that, hyper focused on that, the unit, you are forgetting that your partner is also their own unique sovereign individual with their soul curriculum, with their soul healing and their soul journey, but also their own power, their own path, their own destiny, just as you are your own sovereign individual with your own unique path, your own unique destiny. And you guys have your own ways of connecting, of receiving, of expressing, of giving, and of loving. Can you make it okay and communicate Not when you're in a rupture, not when you're pissed. Of course, those are times when you need to communicate. But the most successful relationships that shift have conversations around sex and intimacy when you're in a really good state already, when you're both wanting to just talk about it because you're here to talk about it because nothing's actually wrong. No one's in trouble. You just thought about it and wanted to bring it up on a coffee walk or at lunch, right? Those are some of the things you can do. Or another piece, right, is then to balance out the hardship or the heaviness or the growth points is to make it into a devotional practice to make sure you're self-devoted. It's not selfish. It's not selfish. And it makes sure you give yourself the permission to do that. And if your partner does that, make sure you give them the permission to do that. So if my partner needs to take care of himself and it looks like going to the gym in the morning and then going to the gym in the afternoon, which normally he doesn't do, but he decides that that's now what he needs for this phase in his life and what he's creating and where his focus is. Am I going to be like, what are you doing? You're not including me. How dare you? You're just taking care of yourself. You're not including me. It's a we, it's a we, it's a we. How are we going to do this? Right. And again, I see so many women in relationship focus on that because there's a fear that you're going to grow apart or you're not loved enough or he doesn't want to bring you along. Right. Not always the case, but I am speaking to a certain type of woman right now who is listening to this. Right. That does go on in your head. Let him go take care of himself. Trust him. And then take your focus and go take care of yourself, my love. Go do something that is going to absolutely, utterly please the shit out of you. Go masturbate. Go self-massage. Go take a bath. Go take a shower. Go on a run outside. Get some sunshine. Dance naked in the mirror. Dance with clothes on. Move your body. Those are things that are going to make you feel so ecstatic and alive and connected to your power as a woman, as a feminine identified being in your body, getting out of the head that is ruminating over and over and over again. You're not going to think your way out of it. You've got to fuck your way through it. And when I say fuck your way through it, I mean bring your fuck energy to the day to move through whatever you're moving through, right? There's another client of mine whose husband is struggling with a severe illness. And when she was coming to me, she wanted to focus all the time on trying to initiate intimacy with him, trying to get him to connect with her and go on dates or find a way to do romance at home or, dance for him and find ways to try to stroke the fire of their relationship. And she would feel so defeated. She would feel so deflated and she felt so exhausted. And eventually it really eroded at her self-worth and her self-confidence. She started slumping down. She didn't feel confident about herself as a woman. She stopped doing her makeup. She started going bland. Suddenly now she looks very drab. She looks very lackluster. I'm like, what is going on, girl? What is happening, right? And especially she's working with me, I'm seeing and tracking. And so, of course, as a good coach, I'm not going to not call it out. I'm going to. There's no hiding in these containers. What's actually happening? Same pattern. She's so hyper-focused on him and his healing and being there for him, which is beautiful. We do want to do that, but not on a hyper-focus to where we lose ourself and our light, because now we are not doing our partner and our relationship a service by self-abandoning. We cannot self-abandon for the partner. We can't self-abandon for the relationship. We can't self-abandon. In fact, the partner, which is what I reflected to her, needs her to be filled up in her love and her light, because the best thing she can do is show up as a loving, open battery. Just her loving, flowing presence becomes like sunshine to his garden that's been wilting away and dying with weeds and bugs and worms, right? I'm just going to use these analogies, right? And so the shift for her that we made was focusing on her joy and her happiness and working through the shame she had about it and working through the guilt that she had about it, right? Less shame, more pleasure. So what did we do? We discovered, hey, she loves dancing. We got her to do a heels dance class, not just ecstatic dance. She needed choreography to get her out of her brain, to actually follow routine, right? To be bossed around a little bit, and then to put some heels on so she can walk on heels. You better believe she didn't know how to walk on heels. She was super embarrassed, very uncomfortable, but we kept showing up to the course. We kept moving through her uncomfortability, dancing on her pleasure edge, literally, until she finally found her groove. And she fell so much in love with heels class and heels dancing because she found her power. She found her mental health. She found her emotional strength to show up, not trying to be her husband's healer anymore, but to be her husband's lover. And I will tell you that her relationship, her marriage has absolutely been saved. And it is transformed into one where now they're going out of the house after years of not going out of the house because he was so sick, to where he feels inspired to be around her and wears a little beautiful collared shirt, and they'll go out of the house and they'll have high tea and just sit together and bask in each other's energy without words. And then he started getting better and better in her presence, not because she was trying to be his healer, but because she was showing up in her energetic ownership and sovereignty. She was tapped into her erotic energy that she felt in heels class and doing self-pleasure practices, which are not always sexual, but it is accessing her orgasmic energy. And she shows up to the relationship as a nourishing source of love. Now they've taken small little weekend trips away together, and I see them on Instagram smiling together. He's smiling. He's in photos. You see him literally coming back to strength, to life. That is the power of what I'm speaking about here, the transformative power of pleasure. And specifically in this conversation, it's orgasmic pleasure, which can be energetically orgasmic, which could be sensually orgasmic through the senses, which could be crying orgasms, letting yourself cry, a really good cry, an ugly cry, and you feel this massive release outside of it, right? There's crying orgasms, there's laughing gasms, but the orgasmic energy in itself to bring you back into your orgasmic beingness, which is your natural state. And by doing this, you're back into self-worship, connected to the version of yourself who you were before the relationship, or even better. And what you're doing is you're doing this as an act of devotion to your partner as well, because you get to give it to them. You get to let them experience it. You let them to feel welcomed and invited into this beautiful, blissful world that you've created through yourself, that now heals, nourishes, fuels the relationship effortlessly by embodying the lover energy. So that's what I want to share with you all today. You know, this sexual energy is healing energy. Sexual energy is creative energy. Sexual energy is potent. It is medicinal. It is playful. It changes mind, body, and soul. It can really, really shift you into a creative mindset and creative thinking outside of your linear and intellectual mind that wants to just ruminate. So go masturbate today. Go give yourself an orgasm, and then let your partner just feel the vibe and track it. Do a tracking system. Don't take my word for it. Be a sexy scientist. Run the experiment and see what happens for 1 week. And then if you like it, go to second week. Track. How was people responding to me today? How was my partner responding to me today? When I chose to give myself the permission to have more pleasure and less shame, and experience my orgasmic energy today? How do they respond? How do they react? How did they do without me saying anything? What was the mirroring effect back? And if you like the results, continue on. If you want to go deeper and you want to have me put my eyes and my ears, my energy onto what you're working with specifically, send me a message at team@josephinabashout.com, and me or my team will get back to you and we can have a conversation. And I would love to know what specifically you would want to be working on and if I could help you and if we would be a really good fit for my mentorship program. Continue to listen on to these episodes and sending you lots of love until the next time.